Hey all, in this video I will look at calculating the real gross domestic product growth rate. Remember, it's gonna be the real GDP growth rate, not the nominal GDP growth rate. The simple formula is you take new value, from that you subtract the old value, you divide the whole thing over the old value, multiply it by 100. This one is talking about what's the real GDP growth rate from 1960 to 2010. Because it is a growth rate and we multiply it by 100, it's gonna be expressed in terms of percentages. So this will be the value in 2010 minus the value in 1960 over the value in 1960, the whole thing multiplied times 100. Looks like this is 376%. Wow, that means real production of goods and services increased by 376%. That's a lot. And just remember, when you take this real GDP, what do we do? In this real GDP calculation, we are fixing prices to the base year value. Now what I did is I went to this website here again, the tradingeconomics.com, and I'm looking at the US economy. I was looking at the growth rate of US economy, or the growth rate of real gross domestic product, and this is what I find here. This is the data here, and this is given to me in percentages. See, the growth rate is always going to be given to me in percentages. Wow, it's a negative growth rate of real gross domestic product. I'm not surprised given the situation that we have in hand. Next, we just look at some business cycles. So examples of business cycles are recessions and expansions. Recession means a significant decline in national output, real gross domestic product. Expansion means the opposite, it has to be an increase in gross domestic product. Depression is an especially lengthy period of decrease in output or gross domestic product. As for example, we had the Great Depression of 1929. That was an example of depression. Recession example is from 2008, when the production in the economy went down. Another example of a recession is basically right now, the GDP is going down. Okay, then we have peak. Peak means the highest point of gross domestic product. Trough, this is the lowest point which we have in a recession, and a recovery begins after that. Then we look at the definition of business cycles, and this is basically the short-term movements. It says in and out of recession, but basically business cycle means expansions and recessions. This is how we define business cycles. Okay. Now we are comparing GDP across countries. We want to convert everything to a common currency, which is the dollar. We can do that by using the exchange rate. The exchange rate means the price of one currency in terms of another. As for example, if I look at the exchange rate between US dollar and Mexican pesos, I can come here, I can go to this Trading Economics website. Just to let you know, the exchange rate keeps on changing over and over again. This is the Forex market, and USD MXN is showing me the exchange rate between US dollars and Mexican pesos. So it says 1 US dollars is equal to 22.1802 Mexican pesos. Today is a Saturday, so all the markets are closed, so we do not see the pop-ups that we usually see in exchange rate markets. So it's 22.18.1802. I'm going to change this approximate sign to equal to sign. Okay, that means if US citizens sells 1 US dollar, they are going to get 22.1802 Mexican pesos. Okay, all right, now in this example we have Brazil's gross domestic product in 2013. We have the counterpart US, the GDP is 16.6, Brazil is 4.8. Now I have the exchange rate between reals and dollars, which is 2.157 real is equal to $1. Converting Brazil's GDP in terms of US dollars here, I'm going to take Brazil's GDP, I'm going to divide it by the exchange rate here, and this is what I get in terms of US dollars. So I can compare the US to Brazil, and this is what I get here. So the GDP for US is much greater compared to the GDP for Brazil. Another measure that I have here is GDP per capita or GDP per person. So GDP per capita shows me the standard of living of the people in an economy as a whole, and GDP shows me how an economy is doing. Going to the next slide here, I can again use this website. I can go to indicator countries, look at the G20 countries. US is one of the G20 countries. I look at this GDP, I look at GDP per capita here, and this is what I find. One of the fallacy of this GDP per capita is we make the assumption that this is the total production, and this is also equal to the total income per person in an economy, and that's not right. So this is like the total income per person in an economy. This can be overstated for a lot of people, understated for also a lot of people. A lot of people are earning way over 54,579. A lot of people are earning way less than this amount. Okay. The last thing is we look at the shortcomings of gross domestic product, and these are what is summarized below. One of the striking shortcomings of gross domestic product is if you produce anything at home, that is not calculated, not counted in GDP calculation. As for example, you can ask your mom to take care of your kid, and that's not going to be counted in the GDP calculation. Rather, you put your kid in a daycare, that's going to be calculated in the GDP calculation. So, the other example, you buy lunch at home versus you buy lunch in a cafeteria. The cafeteria, that lunch will be included in the GDP calculation. So that is all from this chapter on gross domestic product. Thank you very much.